welcome here to Lindsay High School. We're here in the superintendent's office today. We decided to take a little lunch break and stop in and say hi to Mr. Karpe here, our superintendent, and Chuck, I want to thank you for giving us this beautiful view here. Anybody that's been to Lindsay High School probably has some fond memories of our courtyard.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the kids love that courtyard.
They do. And like I say, the other day whenever I was in here and I sat down and I looked out there, it just took me down memory lane. So, and I want to thank you for taking the time to sit down and get the word out to the people. There's a vicious rumor that there might be a bond question coming up on the 27th, and so we decided we want to hear it straight from the horse's mouth and get the scoop. And you know, a lot of folks just don't have time. They're working, they're doing their day-to-day life. They don't have time to stop in and talk to you. So we thought, wow, you know, we'll get with Mr. Karpe and try to get the information out to the folks so they can make an informed decision.
Yeah, Robert, great timing. It's August. The vote's coming up the 27th this month, and it's time to get a lot of information out. The Shopper News and the Lindsay newspaper should come out with an article today with some information about that, and so I think following up with your broadcast would be excellent.
Wonderful. And so, Chuck, let's talk a little bit about, I personally like to say it's renewing a bond. And I know technically you're not renewing a bond, but it's technically replacing a bond. Before we get started, I'd like to talk about what bond it's replacing and what you guys did with that bond. I know you wasn't the superintendent at that time that it was passed, but you did have a big hand in it. And just talk to us a little bit about what happened with the last bond, and then after that we'll kind of get into where we're headed.
Sure, Robert. Yeah, 3 years ago I took over in the superintendent's seat, and had just passed a bond, a small bond issue, and it was passed. The voters approved to remodel the ag room, install a STEM lab, and remodel the high school science lab. And
so, have we had any progress on any of that stuff? And also, you know, there were some wonderful things that you had talked about that you did with some of those programs, and I think it would be great for the viewers to know.
Yeah, when we started looking at that, I found out we were way over budget on that thing because of inflation. We all know what inflation's done to us the past couple of years and keeps doing that to us. And so we had to make a lot of cuts. There was a lot of unnecessary items in that, and we were successful at that and cut that down and had a little bit of a surplus with that bond issue. But we were able to completely refurbish both the ag classrooms, the shop, which needed it sorely, replaced all the equipment in the shop. Everything's brand new out there, and so that's an area I would invite anybody in the public to come up and see what we've done there. Additionally, the STEM lab, and we've talked about that for years, putting that in here, not really knowing how to go about that or the details, but poured a lot of money into that.
For the folks out there watching that aren't really familiar with what the STEM lab is, you mind going into a little bit of detail about what they do with that? Because that's a very interesting program.
Yeah, it's a broad program. Science, technology, engineering, and math, and boy, that varies from school to school on how they really define that and how they use that. I think we can boast one of the most well-equipped STEM labs in the state of Oklahoma. We started off, Mr. Chapman had initially going to use the old band room for that. In doing research, we found out we needed a big lab area and a classroom to accommodate that. So we moved that out to the old field house. A lot of you guys remember where the old football field house used to be, and completely remodeled that thing. We brought a young lady in here from Texas to come help us, a veteran STEM lady, and she helped design that, set up the program, and has since moved on to a career tech program, and we've replaced her with a local young man named Jason Smith. Real proud of what he's working on already and the direction he wants to take that STEM lab.
Absolutely. Yeah. And also the agriculture. I know you spoke about there was a lot that you did with the ag room, especially the welding, which kind of fits the mold. You'd spoke about how the different programs are different in different schools. I would assume some of that's based on local economy because you guys are with some of the ag, you're focusing a little bit on the welding program.
Yes, yeah, brand new state-of-the-art welding machines there. We have a plasma table cutter out there. We have a powder coating booth, and we have a laser jet machine out there, also in the ag room. So very well equipped. We have some of that equipment similar to that in the STEM program. The kids in there can, you name it, we can do esports in there. We have laser printers. We have laser jets. We have a new water jet machine we just purchased and haven't got to use that yet. We make T-shirts. We can make just about whatever you can imagine out there. I know that a year ago the kids went to a contest where they made boats out of cardboard. And went to a contest, and the kids really love that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. So, with that being said, I think we're going to take a quick break. We've already covered the pass bond, what it did, and you've give us some of the results. When we come back, we're going to talk about a little bit about the upcoming bond question. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Searching for Medicare plans and health insurance really doesn't need to be confusing. Here at Oklahoma Healthcare Exchange, we understand your needs because this is all we do. Our agents also live and work right here in the Sooner State. When you call us, you'll be connected to a local agent with experience and a desire to make your plan selection experience a pleasant one. To find out why they say we have the best service in the business, I recommend you give us a call at 855-786-8343. You'll thank us later.
To Lindsay High School, we're here in the superintendent's office, and we're getting down to the meat and potatoes of this thing. We've already talked about where we've been. Now let's talk about where we're wanting to go. You're proposing. Golly, I lost my numbers.
A little over $12 million.
A little over $12 million, and then for one bond.
One bond.
And then the other bond is $600,000.
I'm sorry, that's combined.
Oh, okay.
That's
okay.
both combined.
Okay. But there are two different bonds. One's for transportation only, and the other one. Well, let's talk about the transportation first. There's one thing that I noticed. It's a little bit more than the last one. So. And you've already kind of hit on it, Chuck, in our first segment, but I'd like to explain to the folks out there watching why you're asking for more money this time.
Yeah, easy. In one word, inflation.
Okay.
Just like hitting everybody at home in their pocketbooks, and buses are more expensive. We usually, for several bond issues now, we've asked for $500,000. We'll need $600,000 to continue to keep our buses in good shape. And we've come a long ways, and you and I talked off camera a little bit about the condition of buses and having air conditioning on every bus now. And boy, that's so important for these kids. And with this heat right now outside, it's a good time to talk about air conditioning. Also, we've got cameras on every bus now.
Okay.
It's going to help with discipline on the school bus, because we can't afford to put a monitor on every bus with the bus driver. And for 10 or 15 minutes, we'd like the kids to get on the bus and behave for a little bit for us. And sometimes the kids go home and tell the parents that old bus driver picked on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the cameras don't lie, so we can just say, "Hey, Mom's watching." And then also those people that don't honor those stop signs put those kids' lives at risk. And we have a lot of those, especially in town. Pretty dangerous. So those cameras look out the front of the bus too. So hopefully we can catch some of those people. And we don't want to be mean, but we can't have them doing that.
No. And with that being said, it is it's going to be that time of year again where the buses are out moving around. And, I think as we progress through the summer, we kind of fall into a pattern. We all drive to work the same route and church and different places, and we get used to driving the same route. And then we kind of get out of the habit of looking out for those buses. So that is something we need to start, being more aware of. And I hope the folks watching file that back in their Rolodex and take note of that. So that's understandable. That's just the part of doing business. You're going to have to ask for more because the equipment costs more and things like that. Now let's get to the big part. You're wanting the the rest of the bond, and I don't remember the numbers, it was a little around $12 million. You've got several projects. It's not just one project, it's several projects. Let's talk a little bit about that. The playground, that, if you're a kid like me, that's the most exciting part. I don't really need to talk about anything else. But
that's right. Yeah. Well, we've done a lot the last 2 years out of our general budget, remodeling the classroom. We started last summer and went through the elementary in their classrooms, come back this year and remodeled their hallway, brand new tile. A lot of stuff in the high school, new office, down the business hallway. But we run into a roadblock when it comes to the bigger projects. And that's where I'm asking for the public's help on this. And the biggest need is that elementary playground. Okay. I know I've been here 10 years, but I talk to generations of people, and the groundwork, the grading out there has always been bad. When it rains, the water just sits out there, and it's a mud hole for those kids, and so they're locked inside, and really poor teachers at that point. Those kids need a break. They need to get out there and run around. So, a big chunk of that, about $600,000, is going to take to regrade that whole area and drain it back out. And we're in a floodplain here, and so it takes a lot of work to get that out of the area right there. And then we'll come back and we'll have turf on there now. And not dirt. And then the old playground's 20-plus years old. The community come together and put that together, and I know there's a lot of good memories in that and names on some of the wood, but it is getting rotten. Screws sticking out, splinters in the kids, so it's become kind of a safety hazard. And instead of keep putting Band-Aids on that, we can come back in with a new poly-type playground equipment and be really nice for the kids. Have some really good renderings of what that's going to look like. So really excited about that program first, or that project.
Yeah, and I think the average person would look at it and think, wow, that's a lot of money. But being that you're a public school, there's lots of obstacles you have to jump over that maybe we don't have to jump over in the backyard at our house. You have to make sure it's accessible, it's safety compliant, things like that. You can't just go down to Walmart and purchase a playground and throw it out there. It has to be a certain type.
That's exactly right. I know that I'm always shell-shocked when I want to build something or remodel something for the school district, and I think that good old Uncle Sam, the government, plays into that. And you think, well, that doesn't cost that much. I can build that for a fourth of that at home. You might be able to.
Yeah,
but not in school business. You can't.
Right.
You got all the other hands in the pie.
Absolutely. You have to dot your I's and cross your T's and hope everything works out right.
Yeah.
And then so another thing that you're wanting, and this is kind of exciting to me, the auditorium. We don't even know. I certainly don't know exactly how old it is. I can tell you this, Mr. Karpe, when I was a kid, I remember them having this area of the school shut down because they were having to remove asbestos from the auditorium. And then as you spoke, I remember whenever they recovered the seats, and that was kind of a big deal, but it's time to do some upgrades. Let's talk a little bit about what you have in mind for the auditorium.
It is. It's really the last indoor area of remodel we need to do, and a lot more extensive than the other projects we've done. We'll put over $1 million into that thing, and upgrade the sound system is going to be a huge one, and that's a lot of money there. Electricity, putting light switches where they need to be. Redo the seating area. The stage has rot in it. We'll completely redo that. The curtains, it's time for new curtains. The sound booth will all be located in the back instead of some up front and some in the back. So it'll be an extensive overhaul. And that's another area. We talked about the playground. That's going to serve 650 kids a day over there. The auditorium serves everybody in the district, and they all come over and use that thing. Open to the public all the time. So we want to make something. We're always proud of our school. We want to make it a little bit better.
Absolutely. And I'm seeing am I seeing this right, Mr. Karpe? Heat and air units. Why can't? Hey, look, when we were kids, we just popped the wind. Actually, we didn't push it up; we pushed it out. Whenever I was a kid, but I guess we had to get away from that. So
we have, and thank goodness. I think I was part of the generation a little older than you when we just opened the door and let the screen door kind of blow air in the house. But we're all spoiled. We used to roll down the windows in our car, and that was good enough. But it's just not anymore.
Yeah.
So it's not just the younger generation being soft; it's us old people too.
Yeah. So what is it? A few $1,000s to get these? Let's talk a little bit about how much we're going to have to spend to get our heat and air units up, and how old they are.
Well, I rely on the local guy here that's done our stuff at school for years and years, Tony Wilson, and we had a couple of big units start going down on us, and that's a big chunk out of our budget when that happens, and somewhat unexpected at times. You can't really predict it, except when they get as old as these are. And so I said, Tony, what are we up against? How many of these old units do we have? And so he did some figuring for me. He said it'd take over $1 million to get rid of all these 20-plus-year-old units. And, you can put Band-Aids on them so long, and then it's time to replace them. And so that's going to be a big part of the bond issue. A big need there is let's start over with these HVAC units. And once that's done, that'll kick it down the road for a long time before we have to spend big money on HVAC.
Well, and one of the unintended consequences of that maybe your electric bill goes down a little bit with some of the newer units.
Yes, I can speak to that. I had one at the house recently, and my electric bills were real high, and finally I had one of my units replaced, and my goodness, made a huge difference. So I'm not an electrician or HVAC guy, but it makes a big difference to have an efficient unit up there.
Absolutely. And you're looking at some security fencing. Honestly, I just took a drive around the school before I came in here, and that I didn't realize that was one of the things you were looking at. So I got to commend you for that. That is definitely a concern of mine, and obviously yours. Talk a little bit about what made you decide, hey, we need some security fencing.
When I first took over, one of the common requests from my maintenance man, Richard, he'd come in and we were having broken locks. We have 6-foot chain link around our playground to protect our little kids. And evening we'd lock people out so they don't come in there and tear it up. Well, they just come in and kick these expensive $300 locks off. So after replacing a couple of those, I got to looking and thought, we got to do better. We had a little bit of money last summer. We started on the east side of the playground and had some security fence put up, some iron-type wrought iron type fence put up, and I want to continue that. Very expensive, of course. It's stuff that people don't really want to try to climb over. It's got the spearheads on the top. It's stuff that they can't kick in. But we started, each morning I've got a guy, our tech guy comes in real early, and he helps me out, and he goes and looks on the playground, and we're finding needles in there. We're finding just bluntly condoms in there. We're finding things, empty liquor bottles, things that shouldn't be in a playground. But we got to sweep that area pretty much before the kids show up. So that tells me the kind of people we're getting in there in the evening. I need to keep them out. And the last part of that is on that chain link. If somebody wants to come and get a kid out of that, it's not too hard. And we live in a tougher and tougher generation in society now, and those people, that segment, they're out there. Mm-hmm. So it is a big concern, and I really want to keep pushing for that security fence.
Okay. And last but not least is the MultiPurpose building, and then we'll just talk about a few other things. We're going to take one last break, and then we'll be right back. We'll talk about the MultiPurpose building and a couple other little things.
Very good.
Searching for Medicare plans and health insurance really doesn't need to be confusing. Here at Oklahoma Healthcare Exchange, we understand your needs because this is all we do. Our agents also live and work right here in the Sooner State. When you call us, you'll be connected to a local agent with experience and a desire to make your plan selection experience a pleasant one. To find out why they say we have the best service in the business, I recommend you give us a call at 855-786-8343. You'll thank us later.
Welcome back here to the superintendent's office here at the Lindsay High School. We have our final segment here, and Mr. Karpe, we've talked about where we've been with the bonds, where we want to go, and we have one last piece of the pie to talk about, and that's the MultiPurpose Facility. From what I understand, it's a facility that you can do all sorts of things with this, and share that information with the folks if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, this kind of came about, Robert. at the end of the last bond issue 6 years ago, we built the new gym and moved Burford Field, new field house down there. They're running a little bit short of money to put in a weight training facility down there. So they put the weights inside the field house. Little locker room, weight training in there, pretty crowded area. The biggest problem with that was having the ladies down there working too. Violation of Title IX, and we need to satisfy Title IX requirements, and that's kind of got us got the ball rolling, thinking about what we can do. And so we initially started talking about what we need to do to satisfy what we needed for our athletes, for our band kids. We need a place for those kids to go in inclement weather, a place where the band can march. So we started designing this facility to satisfy Title IX requirements, a good place for those ladies, equal locker rooms, inclement weather stuff. And so that's why we started talking about this. So we can put those people in there. It'll be a training facility. Band can come in there and march, do what they need to do. Your golf can hit golf balls. You can throw football, baseball, whatever we need to do in there, instead of tear up their fields and get those kids out of weather and losing valuable practice time.
So give us an idea. Is this a little small building, about the size of your average garage, or is it a big? Give us an idea what this thing's going to look like.
No, it's a big one, and it's about 100 foot long, 60 foot wide. So you've got an area on the side where you can go in there and work out strength training, but you can also got an area where you can do agility training. Like I said, you can have the band come in there and have lines on the floor. It's a turf floor. They can come in there and march. You can come in there and hit a baseball. You can come in there as softball. You can come in there and golf. About anything you want to do in this facility.
So no more kids coming home saying, "Mom, Dad, we didn't get to work out today because it was raining outside." They're going to get their workout.
This ought to really help. Yes,
it ought to help.
It ought to help.
And I'm sure some of the parents are going to be glad to hear that, because they're not going to have to deal with kids coming home full of energy anymore. And the coaches are going to like that, because they're going to get a little bit better production out of them.
Well, the coaches don't want to hear that those kids have energy left after a workout, so we hope that's not happening.
They want you to give 110%, right?
Yeah, that's the wrong thing to tell a coach.
Well, so, man, it looks like we've pretty much covered everything. We're gonna go out. We're gonna take some pictures of some of the stuff here, and hopefully we're going to be able to incorporate them onto the program here. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
There really is, Robert, and I like it. You're going to take some pictures. I've invited people to come in with some of the progress we've made. Finishing up the last bond issue was big. That first summer I was in here. Last summer we come in with remodeling, like we talked about. This summer we're winding up things this last week and in a hasteful pace and trying to get ready for school to start. I'd like to show them off. It's always a good day to be a Leopard, and we have a lot of pride in what we do up here at our school system, and our facility ought to be second to none, and that's what we're trying to accomplish. And along those lines, I just want people to know that we strive every day, with myself and with our secretaries in here, to help manage and take care of the money, that we're being good stewards of the public money. We're doing what we say we're doing when we ask for money in a bond issue. We're using it in that manner that we ask for.
Okay. So with that being said, folks, there you have it. I think we've pretty much covered everything, but there may still be questions. If you have questions, I can speak for myself and say Mr. Karpe's been very accommodating to us. We've asked questions. We asked him to do this interview, and he made the time for us, and he's going to walk us around and show us a few things. So I would encourage you to do the same. Take your time, give him a call, stop by, check everything out, and make an informed decision. And
I would sure welcome, Robert, to have anybody come up and talk to me and walk around, see the facilities, see what we've done, and we want to continue to improve this campus.
Absolutely, and I'm sure the folks at home watching appreciate that, and definitely we appreciate you taking the time to do this. To explain this to the people and so that they can make an informed decision. So with that being said, we're going to wrap it up. and we're going to take a quick tour, and then we'll get that information out to you folks at home. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, Robert.